the issues that I write about is that they engage people in conversation, and I would like to share that with you. But before I do, let's just make sure to have a little bit of fun. As Connie said, I do try to, having worked in advertising, I believe that we do have positive ways in which communications, professional communications, can also help social issues. And so I've dedicated myself to writing works that are accessible to the public. This is not a scholarly piece of work. I'm not a scholar, for one thing. So I write in a way that I hope is engaging. I hope that some people have called my books page turners. I take that proudly. But at the same time, I believe that there's also a message each time you turn the page. And that's what I hope that comes across, is that perspective that I can offer to readers of both Latino and the mainstream community. I live in Ohio. I would consider myself bicultural. I speak English, as you can tell, fairly well. También puedo hablar español con la misma vez. So I can go back and forth between the two communities, and I feel that I can act, and Norma, as you quite put it so well, as a bridge. I think the more bridges that we can build, the better it is, because right now, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of activities take place by politicians and by groups who are really seeking to divide this country, and to do so for political gain. And I of the fact that the only real enemy that we have is extremism. People who feel that their cause is so justified that they're willing to take any means to achieve it, those are the people we need to be worried about, not people who are willing to differ in opinion reasonably and are willing to discuss. And so that's what I hope that we do tonight, is share that a little bit. But before I do, let me just make sure, is there anybody who has not filled out one of these? It's a drawing. This is a Class H t-shirt. I will say that there aren't very many of them. I'm wearing one. And the other one here tonight we're going to give away to somebody. So if you haven't filled one out, okay, I'll pass this around. And anyone else. And we'll have a drawing at the end of the festivities. And someone, that's right, you warned me about that. Someone will take home this lovely Class H t-shirt, which I hope you'll wear. Whether you're Latino, Class H, by the way, stands for Hispanic, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. Whether you're Hispanic, Latino, or not, it really is about solidarity and an understanding that what could happen and does that I portray in my novels is something that we want to avoid. Are there any of you here who have not read either of the books? Can you just show of hands? Okay, good. I'm going to give you just a very quick synopsis of the story. Some people have called my novels, and they're sequels. It's actually part of a trilogy. The first one is America Libre, and the second is House Divided. There's still a third book yet to come. Each one of them is a self-contained book. You could begin reading House Divided and wouldn't have to read America Libre, but they do work well together, and some people have actually read them backwards and said it works kind of as a prequel. But if you take them together as a whole, probably the best way I could describe it would be the Latino Gone with the Wind. It's a story about human interaction, a romantic triangle, the conflict between father and son, but it's set in a future world that is that's different than the one we have now, but really a lot of the same issues that we're having now have gotten much worse, and it's actually a civil war, only the rebels in this civil war are from the very far south. It's actually those Latinos. And so I project this as a cautionary tale. I draw this world out so that we can see the dangers that we face if we continue with policies that are divisive, with policies that drive people apart, with policies that don't build bridges, that separate. And I recently wrote an editorial in which I was entitled The Second Grand Canyon in Arizona. And everyone knows the first Grand Canyon, but they're building one that's even bigger and wider and deeper, and that's between Arizona's politicians and the Latino community. That gap is widening every day because Latinos right now, if you look at the laws like SB 1070, the very controversial immigration law, there appears to be, the polls show that there is widespread support among non-Hispanic whites for that law. At the same time, in the Latino community, it's just as equally opposed. And those issues, other issues like SB 2281, have any of you ever heard of SB 2281? It is the law that Arizona put in place that, in essence, is the ethnic cleansing of its public schools. They've taken out Latino studies because they feel like they're subversive. And laws like that, and also the latest one from Arizona is, I believe it's 1433. And this one is really great because one of the things that I posit in the book is that there is this civil war between Latinos and the mainstream. And actually, Arizona seems to be beating us to the punch because they've got a proposed law which allows a committee of 12 people, a majority of 12 people, so anyway, 7 people in Arizona will be able to decide whether the state wants to obey federal laws or not. I think the last time that happened, that was called the Confederacy. So, you know, as far-fetched as some people think my fiction is, unfortunately, it's also becoming quite very much a reality. So this story is still a human story. It's not a political book in the sense that I'm not Ayn Rand. I don't have 17 pages of a speech, which is essentially nothing but proselytizing or ideological stuff. The book is full of action. It's full of activities. It's full of human emotion. But it's all set in the context of this future. So with that in mind, I would like to maybe ask and see if anyone has any questions that you might have about the books that you know so far based on what I've said.